What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and we are back with a video from Supershowdown Poznan. And this time we're in round 5, and we have Sarna, who featured in our previous video, playing Chewie, versus Hipo, who's playing Han Green. Now, one thing that I do want to say, in the previous video, um, it was 1-1, and it looked like the players packed up. I was later informed, actually by Sarna, one of the players in this video, that in the previous thing they had only had like 9 or 10 minutes left or something, and so they had decided to just take the draw, and that this tournament was not using draws as double losses. So good to know. And now we're going to get to the gameplay here, and we are at 1.25x speed. And once again, shout out to Sklad Gear for hosting this footage and this event. And my apologies to anyone whose names I mispronounce. All right. So Sarna with the 30 HP green-based Chewie versus a Energy Conversion Lab Han. So we lead off here. Hipo plays Lothal Insurgent. That's going to be a 3-2. It does have text, but it's not relevant in this situation because its ability only works if you've played another unit first. Sarna leads with, actually, that's going to be a Mon Mothma, allowing him to search the top cards for another rebel, and it ends up being an Echo-based defender that he pulls there. And it looks like he used Chewie's ability to make Mon Mothma a temporary sentinel, even though that's not strictly required in this situation. Okay, so now Hipo's Lothal Insurgent can easily clear Mon Mothma, but Hipo might prefer to do damage to the base, honestly, not entirely sure, or save it to trade. Potentially saving it to trade with the Echo base defender also. Ends up being just an attack directly to the base. And let's see what Sarna does. Sarna plays R2-D2 as a temporary unit. Looks like he sends the top card to the bottom of the deck. Hipo plays a resupply, giving him an extra resource, and then Sarna uses the additional 2 resources he has available for a buff on Mon Mothma. I think that's an Electro Staff, and then Mon Mothma, now buffed by the Electro Staff, defeats the Lothal Insurgent while herself remaining alive. So the Electro Staff is an upgrade that gives +2/+2, and you also get units attacking you have -1 power. So Mon Mothma was upgraded to a 3/5, then took 3 damage, so now at 3/2 overall stats. But with that damage reduction or power reduction, a 2 power unit would not be able to defeat her in one swing. All right, Han temporary resource used here, going up to 6 resources. This is potentially the Han ramp combo here, where we can potentially see Han entering the field, then attacking, putting a temporary resource in from the top of the deck, bringing him up to 7 resources, at which point we could then see a card like Mace Windu, or the U-Wing Reinforcement. This deck is a green Han, so Mace Windu's unlikely, but we could see U-Wing Reinforcement, Han Solo, the unit. And it looks like Han attacks into Mon Mothma, clearing her. 2 HP left for Han. Temporary resource is made, so we're up to 7. Takedown played to clear Han, but it may be a little late here as Han has wiped the board and set up 7 resources. If we see a U-Wing Reinforcement from Hipo, that's exactly what we do see. So U-Wing Reinforcement allows you to search your top 10 cards for up to 7 resources, of units, and put them into play. And for free. So let's see what Hipo is going to gather from U-Wing Reinforcement. I think he's going to be very up after this play, because with 7 resources worth of units against Sarna's empty board, that should be enough to put Hipo in a very aggressive position. Ooh, yeah, and he brings out... Oh, and it is to a maximum of 3, though. So he tried to get 4 units there, but it's actually not allowed. Ends up getting 3 units. That is going to be Battlefield Marine, Greedo, and Lothal Insurgent. Tried to get a Leia Defiant Princess as well, but it looks like Sarna pointed out it is maximum 3. Lothal Insurgent causes a draw and random discard there, and Sarna discards the Admiral Akbar that I believe was on top of the deck. Unfortunate situation there because that Akbar would have been really helpful to ping Greedo off the board. Would have been really helpful. All right, Sarna now in a spot of trouble with 3 units on the board for Hipo. We'll see whether Sarna can put something together to deal with this, but it looks like a very unfavorable situation. And Hipo getting rid of some temporary resources there, as well as adding 1 resource to get up to 6. I believe that's what occurred there. Ooh, nice. Make an opening, clearing Greedo and also healing the base for 2. That's a good way for Sarna to buy some time. 3 damage to base. Another Mon Mothma played. Mon Mothma, I don't think is the card you most want in these situations. Her stats are just not really that good. And I don't know, the card advantage is nice, but I'm not sure that's the thing that you most need in this scenario. It does find an Admiral Akbar, though. That'll be nice to have for the future. If Hipo doesn't clear Mon Mothma, Akbar can be used to defeat that Lothal Insurgent. Hipo makes a temporary resource and then plays Han Solo Reluctant Hero, ambushing and defeating Mon Mothma, and then putting some more pressure on with the Battlefield Marine. This situation has gone from bad to worse for Sarna. With Han Solo Reluctant Hero now on the board, he's going to have to draw some kind of hard removal to deal with that, as if not answered, Unit Han is a gigantic problem. So Han Solo Reluctant Hero is a 6/6 with ambush, and he has essentially a permanent shoot first attack. Whenever he's attacking, he does combat damage before the defender, and that basically means he can defeat almost any unit in the ground arena. What Sarna really needs to answer that is a vanquish. Throws out a copy of the Echo Base Defender. Don't think that's going to be very positive, as Han can just clear that for no damage taken. And it's a little odd because I thought I saw a Vanquish in Sarna's hand, but maybe I missed something. Lothal Insurgent trades with the Echo Base Defender. Now another Echo Base Defender hits the board. Interestingly, Hipo is going for trades here. I guess trying to keep Han available just to push more damage to base. I think it might have been more valuable there to use Han. Ooh, home 1. This is just brutal. This game is absolutely not going Sarna's way. Home 1 and replaying the Battlefield Marine with it. Okay. I don't see Sarna as likely to make a comeback in this scenario. At this point, your opponent has 2 extremely powerful units, so Han and Home 1 can both basically close games on their own. Or not like entirely on their own, but Han can basically dominate the ground arena. Home 1 is a gigantic problem in space. Sarna shoots down Home 1 with Vanquish, but that leaves Han unanswered. Han swings in for 6 more damage to the base, and there's 19 damage on the base now, so 11 HP left. Chewie hits the field, Greedo hits the field, Chewie attacks Greedo. That puts him in range to be killed by Han, so maybe Sarna has initiative taken, maybe Sarna has an upgrade. He doesn't have it, so Chewie is just doomed now. Han can kill him in 1 hit. Extremely unfavorable situation for Sarna. He's trying to fight, but I don't know. I can only assume Hipo's first move will just be to clear Chewie with Han for no damage, and this game is really, the Han Reluctant Hero is a unit that you have to have some kind of special answer for. Like just normal unit combat doesn't work, and that constant shoot first just gets huge value. I'm actually a little surprised that he didn't use it earlier to clear one of those Sentinels without losing a unit of his own. Sarna manages to use Admiral Akbar plus Takedown to finally clear Han. Unit Chewie deployed by Hipo. Not my favorite unit in the game, but decent here, especially when it's defending Greedo from that Admiral Akbar. Sarna is far behind, but at least his opponent doesn't have any bomb units on the board exactly. However, I do think this is probably going to be, I think it's probably going to be curtains for Sarna soon. Fleet Lieutenant sent in. Akbar swings into Chewie for 3. The Fleet Lieutenant is a temporary. Fleet Lieutenant's a temporary sentinel, but Hipo plays an Admiral Akbar of his own, clears the Fleet Lieutenant. Sarna plays Kanan, but I think it's too late. At this point, Hipo has lethal on board, and I don't think there's anything else Sarna can do. So that is going to be game, I believe. Um, yeah, Hipo swings in with Greedo, swings in with the Marine, swings in with Chewie. I believe that is game. Oh, maybe yeah, and that is game. So that was a brutal game for Sarna. Hipo just absolutely ran over him in that game. The Han not only clearing the board but also enabling that U-wing reinforcement 2 turns early from when you would normally get that. Put Hipo firmly in the driver's seat, and then with multiple bomb cards like Home One and Han Solo Reluctant Hero, Sarna was eventually able to remove them, but had to use some kind of janky solutions to do so and had just fallen too far behind. Strong win for Hipo and this Command Han build. And I do think that yeah, I mean, I do think Command Han can be scary. I'm not sure if Hipo was playing the so there's one version of this that some people call Casino Han, which is a version where you're playing out of aspect cards to grab with U-wing reinforcement. Not sure if Hipo was going for that or the, in my opinion, better, more consistent version where you just play a bunch of small units. But it seemed like Hipo was getting a lot of value out of his just solid, cheap, efficient units. Things like Battlefield Marine, Greedo, the Lothal Insurgent is a 3/2, isn't incredible, but it can still be quite useful in the right circumstance. And I do think that ability did end up discarding an Admiral Akbar at one point, which could have otherwise picked off a unit. Let's see if Sarna can do a better job in game 2 after a rough game 1. I do think that having a slower leader like Chewie is definitely a bit of a problem when you're facing a Han deck that can ramp up so fast. I just realized that because Han played a resupply, I think he actually had that 7-cost U-wing reinforcement being played not just on turn 4, but actually on turn 3, and that is a very quick development. So maybe not surprising that Sarna didn't have a great counter to it. All right. Players have done some sideboarding, I believe. They're shuffling up, and we're going to go into round 2 here, or game 2 of round 5 here at Super Showdown Poznan. And this is Sarna versus Hipo. With Hipo in the lead, Sarna fighting to try and stay in this match. I believe this tournament format, based on what Sarna had told me on Discord, is there was a group stage with multiple different groups. I don't remember the exact sizes, but the top X from each group then went on to elimination rounds. I think Sarna is currently three wins, 1 draw, and I think this is the 5th and maybe last round of the group phase. So it's quite possible he will make it even if he loses this game. 3-1-1, I think, can make it in at least some group phases, but it would depend on the exact group sizes and cut. Once again, Sarna leads off with Mon Mothma, this time finding Admiral Akbar. Good answer if Hipo's play is going to be Greedo. It's a Lothal Insurgent, but that's also something that Akbar can easily answer. Sarna takes the initiative. Probably happy to see this. Probably happy to see this development because Akbar can now be played with Mon Mothma still on the field. Akbar, when played, does damage to an enemy unit equal to the number of friendly units you control in that arena. And he does count himself. So Akbar plus Mon Mothma is 2, and he's able to do 2 damage and clear that 2 damage and clear that Lothal Insurgent. Hipo, though, is not exactly slowing down a huge amount, deploying a Battlefield Marine and a Greedo here, so it's going to be a kind of aggressive situation for Hipo, arguably with an advantage on the board, even though Sarna had that nice removal. That's sort of the downside of playing Mon Mothma, who has very bad board presence. Um, in this situation, you probably, Sarna, you probably want to clear Greedo immediately. I don't know if you use Akbar to do that or if you sacrifice Mon Mothma for that purpose. But Greedo's 1 HP does mean that, okay, so he does go with Akbar. He hits Greedo. Hipo goes for the top deck on Greedo and misses. So when Greedo's defeated, you can discard the top card of your deck. And if it is an event, if it's a non-unit, I believe, then you can deal 2 damage to a ground unit. However, in that case, he misses. The Battlefield Marine from Hipo swings into the base. Sarna plays R2-D2 using Chewie's ability to give R2 Sentinel, then looks at the top card of the deck and I believe leaves it on top. Hipo still hasn't spent any resources this turn. Han's ability used for a temporary resource. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Sarna throws Electro Staff on Mon Mothma yet again. Mon Mothma maybe going to give somebody a beatdown here. Energy Conversion Lab. Wow, very interesting. It's a steadfast battalion sent in without the benefit of a leader on the board to get that buff, but it is enough to take out R2 and do a point of overwhelm. Mon Mothma wielding the Electro Staff defeats the Battlefield Marine, staying alive herself. But Hipo does have a board advantage here, and we're about to see that potential big turn from Han. Let's see whether there's anything Sarna can do to stop it this time. Oh, it's traitorous. The buffed Mon Mothma captured by Hipo there. Hipo plays a takedown to defeat the Steadfast Battalion. Probably a good play. The buffed Mon Mothma now swings into Sarna's base for 3. And the funny part about this is Akbar can't even do damage to her because of the Electro Staff. Wouldn't be enough to defeat her anyway, as she does have 2 HP remaining, and Akbar only swings for 1. But in this case, it would be 1 minus 1 down to 0. Akbar swings into the base instead, dealing 1 damage to base and 1 restore. Han hits the field, swinging in for 4 damage to Sarna's base. No gigantic combo this turn, but that traitorous taking the buffed Mon Mothma is very likely not what Sarna wanted to see here. Traitorous is an interesting card. It gets absolutely destroyed by upgrade removal. So if you play Traitorous and your opponent plays Disabling Fang Fighter, you are extremely far behind. But in the right situation, a Traitorous can be pretty huge. Sarna sends in a Rogue Squadron Skirmisher, which ambushes Mon Mothma, defeating her and taking 3 damage in return. He brings the... Also, when you play the Rogue Squadron Skirmisher, you can bring a 2 or less cost unit back from your discard pile to your hand, and in this case, he returns R2-D2. A Waylay then sends Rogue Squadron Skirmisher back to hand. Kind of an odd play because it means that Sarna can potentially replay it and get that ambush and the return again. But it looks like Hipo maybe didn't have a very strong hand there, so maybe that was the best he could do for that turn. I'm not sure. Han is still adding damage to Sarna's base. Akbar is healing that damage slowly, I suppose, but the overall situation on board right now is favorable for Hipo. Chewie hits the field. A Echo base defender arrives to potentially counter, and this time it's Sarna who's going to play the U-wing reinforcement. Looking at those top cards, 7 resources. Oh, he could get Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, who's -3/-3, could defeat that Echo base defender. That'd be a pretty good play. But it looks like he's going for 2 units instead. Let's see what Sarna has selected here. Oh, nice. So he gets Kanan and a fleet lieutenant, and then sends Akbar in to clear the Echo base defender with the fleet lieutenant and repair a point of damage from the base. So now he has a pretty solid board. Hipo actually ends up just taking the initiative here. Sarna's kind of gained the advantage a bit, and he hits the base for 2 with Chewie. So Hipo's got to figure out how he's going to deal with Chewbacca here. Chewie is a 2/9 Sentinel with grit. So if Han were to attack Chewie, it would only make him more powerful. The damage on Chewie, usually you want to try to defeat Chewie with as few actions as possible, and Hipo may be having some trouble doing that. Let's see what he does on this next turn. He plays a Steadfast Battalion, but he's already used his ECL, so he can't use it in this situation for a big ambush, and even if he could, it wouldn't be enough to defeat Chewie outright. Sarna, playing it slow maybe, brings out R2-D2, looking at his top card. Hipo flicking his cards there, may be in trouble here. It was looking good for him earlier on in the game, but since Chewie did get a chance to play this turn and is a major barrier to what Hipo's doing, things could change. Does look like Hipo has something he could play in hand, maybe? But he doesn't play it. An Echo base defender arrives and Han defeats it. Only for Sarna to play. Oh, Sarna plays Akbar and deals 5 to clear the Steadfast Battalion. All kinds of attack left to clear Han, and Hipo just concedes the game. Well played to Sarna. It looked like he was in trouble early on, but once Chewie hit the field, he was able to get into a much better spot this time, ultimately stabilizing and getting the win. So congrats to Sarna there, and we're going to move on to game 3. Let's see which of these players will prevail in the third game of this match. 1-1. And they have been playing at a pretty brisk pace. Especially, I don't know if Hipo scooped for time there. One thing that can be relevant if you're worried about time control is that if you're in a situation that's sufficiently bad, conceding early can be a way to get more time for the next round if that's important. I've used this tactic myself in this game. I remember in one of the pre-releases we were playing that was best of 3, I felt like I was at a disadvantage. I felt like I was on a probably unrecoverable disadvantage in one game, and I just said, hey, scoop for time. We went into the game 2, and that time I was able to get it, ultimately getting the win in that match. Sarna versus Hipo, round 3. Winner will win the match here in round 5 of the tournament as a whole. Third game of this particular match. Chewie versus Han. Very interesting. All right, and here we go. Hipo will be going first this time. First is a very popular choice. I'm not aware of any data that has been gathered on a large scale to determine whether going first or second is actually better, but you know, in this case, it does seem to me that most players prefer to go first. The one exception I would say where you might want to go second, one thing that I've really noticed is that if you're running the ISB Agent Tarkintown combo, ooh, that is tough. If you're in the ISB Agent Tarkintown combo, you might want to play second to react to what your opponent's doing, but a bad start there for Sarna. Hipo plays a Battlefield Marine, and Sarna just takes the initiative. I guess he missed his early play, which is not where you want to be. Sarna plays Akbar, dealing 1 damage to the Battlefield Marine, and he does use Chewie's ability to make Akbar a temporary sentinel, absorbing a hit from the Marine, taking the initiative. Resupply used by Hipo, though, and that means that I think Sarna is pretty far behind here. He can trade Akbar for the Marine, which is, you know, probably what you want to do here, but like in doing that, you're still behind, especially because Han Solo can actually hit the board this turn. If Han's ability is used, yeah, and there it is. Han's ability used, temporary resource created. And so we could see Han Solo enabling a 7 cost already, and I don't think Sarna has an answer to Han here. Bright Hope played, not relevant against Han. Han on the field, no answer from Sarna. Han hits Sarna's base for 4, makes a temporary resource, and then we see, okay, it's a Steadfast Battalion. Could have been worse. So could have been a U-Wing reinforcement, but Steadfast Battalion is plenty scary on its own. Sarna has had a slow start, and the Bright Hope probably isn't helping matters because it's in the wrong arena here. Hipo's aggression is focused on the ground arena, not in space, and that Bright Hope is not in a good position to stop what Hipo is doing. We'll have to see how this goes. Sarna does have initiative, though. Initiative and 5 resources. A Vanquish could take out that Steadfast Battalion. No, not a vanquish, but a takedown gets the job done as well. Amusingly, Hipo plays a Bright Hope of his own. Sarna then sends in R2-D2 as a temporary sentinel. Looking at the top card, decides to send it to the bottom of the deck, and R2 can at least absorb a hit from Han here, but Hipo decides not even to bother, just takes the initiative instead. And Sarna attacks, the two Bright Hopes there attack one another, not doing a lot, but 2 damage to each of those Space Sentinels. They are 2/6, so it would take another 2 clashes between them for both to be defeated, though of course one or both players could have some tricks to try to influence that. Hipo still hasn't used the energy conversion lab this game either. I think right now I would say Hipo is pretty ahead, but perhaps Sarna can stall things more and get to a good spot. Hipo attacks into the base with Han. Hipo now on 8 resources, which I think means Harna is on. I think that means Harna is on 7 because there's the temporary resources from uh, there's the temporary resource from Han as well as the resupply. Hipo brings out Home 1, returning an Echo Base Defender, which I think had been discarded as a temporary resource. But Sarna has a Vanquish to answer the Home 1. However, the Echo Base Defender in the ground arena is now another threat. This is one of the things that makes cards like Home 1 good. Even if the opponent has a removal piece to answer them efficiently, in theory, Home 1 still got another unit onto the field, which was not removed there, so there's a bit of card advantage going on. And this actually brings me to kind of a more sophisticated tactic. I'm going to pause a bit to explain this. So I don't think Hipo had actually played an Echo Base Defender earlier in this game. I think what happened there was he had an Echo Base Defender that he had resourced, and when it came time to discard a resource, which is sort of the downside of Han's temporary resource, you do get a resource, but you have to defeat one later, he defeated the Echo Base Defender that he had resourced, allowing him to later pull it back with Home 1. So when you're playing Han, there is actually a relevant decision to make in what resource you defeat, because it matters for Home 1, and additionally, it matters in terms of what information you're giving your opponent. So, for instance, if you have a spicy one of, like a one of some weird card that the opponent may not be expecting, defeating that as a resource will give your opponent information, and it would be better to defeat something boring and normal instead. That being said, I do believe this tournament was likely played with open deck list, which is part of the tournament guidelines. It's possible that they didn't do that. I know they were not using the tournament guideline rules for draws, so they may not have been open deck list either, in which case the importance of hiding information with Han's discards is less. But the importance of discarding stuff for recursion is still pretty high, as we saw with that Home 1 into Echo Base Defender. Okay, we're going to resume now. Sarna has continued the Bright Hope clash. Both Bright Hopes on 2 HP remaining now. Looks like a Strike True in hand for Sarna. Han swings in for 4 and makes a temporary resource. That's a little surprising to me, as I think I would have preferred... Well, I don't know. I think I maybe would have preferred to swing with the Echo Base Defender first, but maybe not. It depends here. Another Home 1. Probably not what Sarna wants to see. Home 1 this time bringing back a Battlefield Marine. While Chewie has hit the field to try and block up the ground arena, the space arena is now not looking favorable. Sarna could attack the Echo Base Defender with. He could attack Echo Base Defender with R2, then attack Echo Base Defender with Chewie. That would defeat the Echo Base Defender and put 4 damage on Chewie. Then he could play the Strike True that he has in hand, and the Strike True would allow Chewie to do 6 damage and defeat Han. That doesn't seem totally terrible. Hipo does the Hipo completes the Bright Hope trade, while previously it was Sarna who was advancing that. Sarna indeed swings into the Echo Base Defender. The problem is Chewie is now in range to be defeated by Unit Han, which would be a giant problem for Sarna. That 6 strength ambush could be crucial. We do see the Strike True to defeat Leader Han, which is what I had envisioned there. And another Strike True dealing 6 damage to Home 1 and leaving it now in position to be removed next turn by the make an opening in hand there if need be. The question for Hipo is, do you have Han Solo Reluctant Hero, or alternatively, a copy of U-Wing Reinforcement that could pull Han Reluctant Hero onto the board? So yeah, as we can see here, Hipo is looking at his resources to determine what to discard and ends up discarding a Bright Hope. That's a good practice. You don't just want to discard the card that was the temporary resource. You may have a better option for enabling that recursion or similar. It does look like Sarna also has a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight in hand, which is pretty good. Hipo uses the initiative here to do an immediate attack with Home 1, hitting the base for 7 and restoring 2 from Hipo's own base. Sarna counters with Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, clearing Home 1, and this does also mean that he has a potential follow-up if Hipo does play Han Reluctant Hero and take out Chewie. Sarna can take the initiative. Ooh, Hipo instead plays a copy of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie swings to base, hitting 6 damage, and Sarna takes 3 damage from the Falcon. 11 HP remaining for Sarna. Ooh, it's a waylay for Jedi Luke. And Sarna takes the initiative. Well, with Jedi Luke in hand, if Hipo does take out Chewie with Han Reluctant Hero, Jedi Luke could then deploy, give Han -6/-6, and clear him. So Sarna might have some peace in mind in that area, but there's still a major threat from the space arena with that Falcon only needing 2 or 3 more swings to close the game, depending on whether or not it can get any buffs. So a surprise strike with that Falcon would be enough to leave Sarna's base on 2 HP. And with Luke Skywalker waylaid and unable to do restore, that's not exactly great for Sarna. We do know there's that make an opening, but in this case he uses Strike True. Strike True clears the Falcon, but very interesting. Syndicate Lackey. This is not always a card that you see in constructed play, but honestly quite a good card. Ambushes in and removes Chewie, and now we're back to kind of some early game style gameplay with Sarna using Chewie's. No, he doesn't use Chewie's ability. Chewie was exhausted, so he played R2 not as a Sentinel, just as a unit. I bet he wishes he could play it as a Sentinel. And the Battlefield Marine swings into the base for 3. Leia, Defiant Princess, readying a resource here. Sarna has taken the initiative. Needs to get something here. So Luke could deploy from hand, so Luke could be played from hand and would clear the Battlefield Marine, but if there's a surprise strike, it's game over. It's going to be a Battlefield Marine with Sentinel played there. Using the leader ability, Sarna trades, or Hipo trades the Marines. Now we see U-Wing Reinforcement. Okay. I was sort of expecting that Luke to be played here to kill Leia for sure, and Luke's resilient to Han. But maybe, oh, he has an Akbar. So if he plays Akbar, that's enough to actually kill Leia because he also has R2. And he can maybe get some other units on the field as well. Maybe the Bright Hope to shield against a potential Falcon. Or he could get Kanan for some potential healing. I think he went for Akbar Bright Hope with this U-Wing reinforcement, though. Or no, it's not Akbar. It's a little surprising to me. I actually think Akbar might be better. So the advantage of Akbar would be that he would then have restore for future turns. The Fleet Lieutenant does have better stats though, and maybe that's more important in this situation. U-Wing reinforcement on the other side of the board as well. U-Wing is just shuttling troops in on both sides of this battle. I think the unit Han would be excellent here. If Sarna had gone for the Luke Skywalker, it'd be more resilient to unit Han. But because he went for this, unit Han could defeat the Fleet Lieutenant and remain on field, threatening lethal. Um, but yeah, and it's unit Han clearing the Marine, or I'm sorry, clearing the Fleet Lieutenant. Initiative taken by Sarna. Let's see if he has an immediate response. See, the problem is Unit Luke doesn't actually answer Han here because Han has 6 HP and there hasn't been a friendly unit defeated. Oof. And Hipo plays a Echo-based defender as well. That might be it. That might be it. This has been an intense game with a lot of back and forth, but I think that Unit Han might be in position to win this game for Hipo. What can Sarna do? So Sarna could potentially put out a Sentinel, but then Han can just clear it. Oh, but then if he puts out a Sentinel and Han clears it, he could then play Unit Loot. No, I don't think it's enough. Yeah, R2D2 as a Sentinel. So I think what he's hoping here is that Hipo will attack into R2 with the Echo base defender, defeat it. Then Sarna can play Jedi Luke and give Han -6/-6 and kill him. Oh wow, the ECL finally used. It hadn't been earlier. Wow. ECL finally used ambush from a steadfast battalion, clears that and deals 1 damage to the base, only 4 HP left. Jedi Luke kills Han, but it doesn't matter. The Echo base defender swings in for 4 damage to base, and that's game, I believe, at least if these life totals are accurate. Sarna looks for the HP counters or whatever, but then I think realizes it's game, and there's the handshake. Good game for Hipo. A lot of back and forth there. That was an interesting match. Ultimately, Hipo seemed to be able to gain the advantage. I think that unit Han was really good, and home one was a lot of value as well. Unit Han, I think, is a little overlooked right now as a 7-cost unit. I think he's a little overshadowed by Luke and Vader, but their legendary rarity does not necessarily mean they're better cards. I actually think that Unit Han is a fair amount of the time better than Luke or Vader because the constant shoot first effect makes him extremely difficult to deal with in the ground arena. I could be wrong, of course. There are situations where Luke or Vader is better. Luke has better keywords, for instance, and in the situation where a unit has been removed, Luke can hit the field, give Han -6/-6, and defeat him, whereas Han cannot defeat Luke in one shot. So there's definitely some argument, at least, for Han over Luke in that scenario. But I do think the constant shoot first effect on Unit Han is a very major threat in later turns. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Congratulations to Hipo for the 2-1 win against Sarna. And we will be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited videos, including both some kind of analysis and strategy type stuff and some gameplay from the rest of this tournament. There's still quite a few matches to go. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. Catch you guys later.